Unless specifically indicated otherwise, the content expressed are my views only and not necessarily those of Lifeco Asset Management, LLC. The content presented is in no way an investment advice, solicitation, or an offer to sell securities or investment advisory services. The material is provided for general information and educational purposes based upon publicly available information from sources believed to be reliable. I cannot assure the accuracy or completeness of these materials. As such, the information in these materials may change at any time without notice. Reference to these discussions about IULs and annuities or fixed insurance products. Investments on fixed insurance products are different from investments in the stock market. Any guarantees provided by a fixed insurance product cannot be assumed to be guaranteed for any other investment.
Welcome to the Rock My Finances show on K4HD Radio and Talk4 TV, where we put the fun in finance. Join Powerhouse Jennifer Jose, CDFA, CMC, and Private Wealth Advisor, as she collaborates with you to create clarity, control, and confidence with your money, your way. It's not about the zeros, so what is it all about? Let's find out. Now here's your host and weekly friend, Jennifer Jose.
Hey, welcome back. Glad we're here. Today is going to be an amazing show. I don't know if you all know me or not. However, I am here to help women become worthy of wealth. I want them to feel the financial freedom, and we do it with the feminine touch. We do not just do it as the old school, love you men, love you. However, I've been told by men what to do with my money and how to do with my money and save and scrimp and budget and all that. We don't do that here. We want you to build wealth. Ladies, we are badass investors. Like, we are great business people. We are so good because we care about the whole company and how we are affecting others, not just one direct line. We actually look at so much when we're actually creating a product or advertising or marketing or collaborating. I just went to an amazing event, and I'm hoping to do the podcast there live. Actually, it'll be really great. But the people were so amazing. Everybody. One gentleman was a sculpture with copper. Another guy did stained glass windows. Such creative people. So I am creative with money. If you are creative, you need some help with your creativity with money. Stay tuned to all these podcasts because we'll be teaching you a lot and sharing a lot of information. Today is going to give women, or of all people, an opportunity to be your own boss, to be your own business owner. And not just all by yourself, like what we hear a lot in the media now, as just being your solo entrepreneur by yourself. Sometimes that's hard. I've been that many, many years, and it's kind of boring if you're all by yourself in your own little silo. So this actually gives you lots of ways to create wealth, build a company, collaborate, but you have support with it as well. So I am very, very happy to invite today to the stage Miss Phyllis. She is your Freedom Franchise Strategist. So she's going to talk about owning franchises, and we're going to dive deep and ask her lots of different questions about what is a franchise, how do you own it, why would you own it, and women, if you're in the middle time of your life, wherever you're at, let's find out if this is the right thing for you. Welcome, Phyllis.
Well, hi there. How are you? So good to see you.
Oh, so great to see you. We hit it off at a networking in San Diego many moons ago, and we just kind of kept in touch. And Phyllis came to my what do I have, a vision board workshop, and I'm like, hey, we gotta get you on the podcast, and let's talk to our listeners here about franchising. So Phyllis is amazing. Yeah. I mean, I read your bio on your website. Your website will be scrolling as well. Your franchisecoach.com. And she had a lemonade stand. I remember that. I had lemonade stands as well, way back when, right? So you've been a business owner pretty much your whole life.
And I know, isn't that funny?
Right? And in the franchise world for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Very much.
So tell me, what is, I ask this to all my clients, all my podcast guests. Let me ask you, what did you spend money on in the last week or two that brought you joy?
Oh, what a really good question. That's a stumper.
I love that it's a stumper.
Yeah, because I'm not arbitrarily just spending money like I used to. I'm doing much better in that regard. So I would say probably I've been really working hard to eat more natural. So probably exploring the produce section, buying more vegetables so that I could come home and prepare them in a very healthy way. Sounds kind
That's
of boring,
awesome.
but
No,
that's
it's
what I
not boring at all. I love it. I love it. I
yeah.
actually have a leak in my place and I'm going to stay with my daughter for a week and I'm going through all my produce in my refrigerator. Thank
Yep.
goodness I'm at the end of everything. And that
Mhm.
really does mean a lot to me because I definitely want to stay healthy and energized. So I'm glad I ate everything from the farmer's market last weekend. So that's great. I
Mhm.
totally get it. And
Yep.
sometimes that's splurging, right? If we buy organic, or at a really good market, it is more than what we're used to spending way back in the day.
Well,
So,
it is. And it's interesting because I just did a 21-day detox, sugar detox. And oh my God, I'm so glad I did it because I'd kind of gotten in a bad habit of eating sweets, which I never used to do. And then I started to. But I learned so much about eating properly, the right kind of oils to use and the right produce, how to read a can so that you know if it has sugar in it. It might have sugar in it, but it's the added sugar that you're looking for. And I didn't know that before. But, I have 2 little grandbabies. So it's important that I stay healthy because I want to watch them grow up.
yes, when
I've
we
got
have a
motivation.
mission, yeah,
Yeah,
motivation, we have a passion, we
yeah,
have a mission, we that gives us the
absolutely.
motivation. Yeah, I love that.
For sure.
So tell me, Miss Phyllis, tell me about franchising. My goodness, what does that word even mean?
You know, Franchising has been around for a very long time. And the best way to just, I'll tell you a cute story. So I went with the Seattle Chamber of Commerce to go to China and I ended up going with a girlfriend from church and I met 2 other couples and we kind of palled around together. And there was a lady on on the trip that had a senior companion care business, wasn't a franchise. And I had specifically said to her, "Oh, is that a franchise?" She said, "No," very proudly, "No." I went, "Okay." So a little bit later on the trip, she made some kind of a snippy comment about, "Oh, yeah, you sell those businesses in a box." And I went, "Well, that's one way of looking at it. Sometimes people refer to franchising as a business in a box. And that's because it comes with everything all set up. It comes with a proven
That's
system.
great.
I know, right? The marketing and everything. What's interesting about this story, though, is that I saw her at another chamber event maybe 2 months later, and she came up to me and she said, "I owe you an apology." I went, "Why?" She said, "Because I was really snippy with you about franchising, but," she said, "you know what? I really need some help and I don't know where to go." And
Oh,
she said, "If I had a franchise, I would have support, right?" And I went, "I know." As a matter of fact, I sent somebody to see her to see if they wanted to turn it into a franchise. And she didn't have the capital to be able to do that. But franchising is one of those things, Jennifer, over the years, I've been doing this role of helping people find the right franchise for about 20 years. And I would tell you, and I actually mentioned that in my book here,
oh
that
yeah, we got to talk about your new book. Yay!
but about 90% of people, when they think franchising, they think food. Even in my networking groups,
I
you
did
know,
too.
I know, right?
Yep.
And that's very normal. However, the thing that people don't realize is most people don't qualify for food because it's much more expensive. In order for you to do food, you have to typically have about 3 locations. You're a money gal, you understand the way money works. Well, and it's funny, when I was in the printing industry, I never had what we call foodies. I never had anyone who was looking at a McDonald's and looking at a Sir Speedy print shop. They're 2 different worlds. And yet I realized, and the way I described it is, you have to have multiple locations because you can only shove so much food through the door in a given period of time. They have very small margins, lots of employees, and you can be don't get me wrong, people that have there's people that have 10, 15,
Oh
20
yeah.
locations. They make lots of money, but you have to be a certain kind of person. And they also, those big franchise companies, first of all, they wouldn't work with me because they're looking for someone who wants to buy at least 5 or 10. And that's not my audience. Those are not the people that I work with. So, Franchising is a wonderful business model, but there's a lot more to it than just food, I promise you.
I love that. So I had a client come to me, and I don't know if it was, I think it was a franchise, but I don't know who was doing it. And it was I want to say like a tutoring or like helping kids learn after school or something.
Yep, lots of those. Yeah, there's Tutor Doctor, there's Sylvan, there's Kumon. We've got a lot of brands now in the STEM space because STEM is so popular, and because of robotics and all the things that are happening. There's a lady that started a franchise that was all about using Legos and teaching children how to build things and how to think of being creative with Legos. I mean, it's amazing what people have come up with in the way of doing things to help children. Art actually is a very good media for children because it helps with their synapses in their brain. So when you can teach a child, one of the brands called Young Rembrandts, and she's out of the Midwest, and she learned how, she was an artist, and she came up with a methodology where kids could learn to draw just about anything using a circle, a square, and a triangle.
Oh, that's cool.
And it just expands their imagination. And today, so many children need that because look at what we're doing. We've always doing this. Not good.
Our phone's right in our face and we're not being creative. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you said she started a franchise. When you say the word franchise to me, I'm thinking that I'm going to buy something that somebody has already created.
Yes. You will.
Okay.
There's two different things to look at. Somebody could take an idea. I'll give you an example. So I have a client who started she is a staffing business for preschools.
Oh,
so
that's
she
great.
Finds the people that want to go, work in preschools. So she created the staffing business and she had a lot of call for it. So she turned it into a franchise. So we can take a proven business model that is successful and makes money. And then we go in and we work with them to create the manuals and design the marketing and teach them. Now, when you go from being an owner with an operation to now being a franchisor, that's a different hat. Now you have to elevate yourself up here. You have to find somebody that's going to kind of be your general manager to manage the franchise owners that come in, but you have to now look at the big picture. So it is a total different mindset, and they have to be prepared for that. And selling a franchise is a different kind of sale because you're not selling them a car or you're not selling them a thing. You're selling them a life change. I mean, you'll have people that'll come to you and they're handing you their life savings because they love what you're doing and they're qualified to do it, but it's a different mindset. And you have to be a person who owns a franchise and sells franchises to people. In my opinion, they have to be the kind of person that their main goal is to make sure their franchisees are successful. If they're in it just for the money, please don't spend your money and don't go there, because you have to be the kind of person that knows if you're successful, we'll be successful. But their focus has to be on the franchisees. That's what makes a good franchisor.
I love that. I love how you're up-leveling my thinking. And I've never really put the word franchise to it. I have no idea why, but I do definitely talk to a lot of business owners and they do open up multiple outlets. But you're right, that is an actual franchise. So you can be a franchisor if you have a good idea. I love that. Okay, so I love it. You're expanding our brains, you're expanding our creativity, you're expanding our wealth and our way to create more wealth. So that's a great idea as well.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, I love that we could have a successful business. Is there a minimum amount of net profit you need to see on an annual basis?
Depends on the person.
Okay.
So, for instance, probably the least expensive franchise is probably around $50,000. And here's an example of a difference. So Jennifer, you're out networking a lot and you run into a lot of coaches, right?
Yep.
They coach this, that, and everything. So I've got a couple different coaching franchises that I work with. One is Action Coach, and the other one is Focal Point. Both great companies, both great brands. I could have somebody up and going and in operation, getting out, building, starting to build customers right away, probably within 4 months. And I see these paying people languish for years trying to figure out who their customer is, how are they going to talk to them? I mean, all the things, they don't know what they're going to do. And the thing I love about franchising, just take Action Coach, for instance. Brad Sugars is the CEO of that company, and he's built lots of companies, but he's back again, really focusing on his Action Coach. And one of the things that Brad did really well is he has lots of different verticals. So when somebody comes to him, it's kind of like, what lane do you feel most comfortable in? Is it with women? Is it with real estate people? Is it with financial advisors? So he has all the curriculum and all of the assets that you need to be successful and to have everything you need to go help real estate agents up level and be more successful and to coach them. So there's no figuring it out. And that's the thing I love about franchising. Not only that, if you have a problem, not only can you call the coach that's assigned to you, but you can also call other franchise owners because you immediately become part of a community of other owners. So it's a brilliant business model.
I love that. I love that. And I know, as being a business owner myself in several different businesses for over 30 years, we are buyer. I mean, everything we've always done was by ourselves. In fact, my dad wanted to open up, this is, you know how I don't like the word regret, but
Hey,
a road not taken. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wanted to open up Hampton's Hamburgers. And because he had his own hamburger stand in Tahoe in the early 60s before McDonald's. In fact, the owner of McDonald's came and saw how he was doing it. And he actually had a grill like Burger King, or one of, not the grill, but whatever that is, like Burger King, but he had it lined up like we do the assembly line now. And he made the little pies with the meringue, like Kentucky Fried Chicken. Like he did a little bit of all that way back when, right? In the early 60s. And when he came to me and wanted to do that, I had time in my life. It was in the mid 80s. And I did a lot of research, and it just didn't seem that another hamburger place would go. And then we have In-N-Out and Five Guys and all these other ones come up. Like, I totally missed that boat on that one, Dad. So sorry. That would have been really fun. But then we were going to do the spaghetti pot, which I still think a drive-through pasta would have been great. But
yeah, I don't think, if I think about it, I can't think of a drive-through pasta place.
No. So far hasn't happened, but my dad had an amazing sauce. And so it would have been fun to do. But that's one thing I road less taken, I would have done, because we could easily franchise that. We could have easily got something up and going and then making money from it and then passing it on to franchisees, because I do love that. Okay. So if I was let's see, we do real talk here, right? Good, bad, and the ugly.
Yep.
So what is the best thing about franchising and what is the worst thing?
I think the best thing about franchising is, one, that you have a proven model. Two, that, you have the opportunity, really, if you work with someone like myself, to get all of your questions answered. So when you attend training, that you're going to know exactly what you need to do every day to be successful. One of the things that some people shy away from franchising because they say, oh, it's too limiting. I mean, they're going to put me in a box and I'm not going to be able to be creative. Well, it depends. And the reason I say that is it depends. If you're very entrepreneurial, one, you may be too entrepreneurial, and I'd already tell you, don't buy franchise. It'll make you crazy. Because if you say to me, Phyllis, I really love this brand, and when I get in there, I'm going to change this, this, and this, I'm going to say, no, save your money. Don't bother. On the other hand, if it's a young emerging brand, what I would tell you is they're going to be more inclined to listen to what you have to say and for you to help them grow that brand and be more a part of it. So that's where, for me, it's like putting a puzzle together, trying to figure out the dynamics, the people, the money, the skills, all of those things. And that's where my expertise comes in, is being able to decipher all of that. And then I introduce people to things that they would have never dreamed of. I'll give you an example. Do you have a minute?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So a gal was referred to me, and she came to me. She wanted a mobile pet grooming franchise. I said, great. I know, right? And I have a great one down here in Orange County that I'm excited to start helping her grow that brand. And anyway, so we explored that. But from a financial standpoint, it wasn't a good fit for her because she didn't have enough money to be able to do that. So in the conversation, her history was she was a hairdresser. And then she went back to school to become a dental hygienist. So she went to become a dental hygienist, and they wouldn't give her enough hours. So she still wasn't making enough money. And she really wanted to do something. And she said, I just don't want to work for anybody else. I like being independent. And so because she was a hairdresser, she said, I love working with my hands. Well, there's a franchise called Fiber New. And what Fiber New does is they repair plastics and leathers. So they would go into your house. Let's say you had a sofa, you had a leather sofa, and the arm was all faded out because that's where everybody sat. She could come in, she could repair that and make it look brand new. Because she was a hairstylist, she knew the art of color. And part of that role is knowing you learn the art of color. Now, a lot of men are colorblind. So whenever I do my work with my clients, if it's a guy, I always have to ask him, I've got a part on my sheet. Are you colorblind? Because if they are, then that brand wouldn't work for them. Anyway, so the beauty of what this did is this enabled her to be able to get into business. It cost her less than $75,000. She was able to go to training, and she's up and operating. And it is something she would have never dreamed of. And I actually thought about it in the very beginning because of her demeanor and the way what she wanted. And she is just over the moon happy, loving it. Well, if you think about it, I'll give you a story on that story. The gentleman, Bob Johnston, who is the salesperson for Fiber New, is just salt of the earth, wonderful man. And he had a client who was dubious about, is there going to be enough business? And he said, I've got a friend who works at the hospital. Hospitals are a huge resource and a huge business that you can go after. So he had a friend who was a guard. So he goes to the guard, or security. He said, can you show me, evidently in a hospital, if the beds or whatever get torn, they have to remove them immediately. And they go down like into the dungeon where they put all that stuff until it gets repaired. The guy unlocks the door, opens it up. It was packed full of chairs and all sorts of stuff. I mean, he could spend years working in that place. So it's those kind of things that, who knew?
Simple, that's wonderful.
Powerful. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love that. So she is making money.
Yes, indeed. Mm-hmm.
That's so exciting. So what's the worst thing about franchising?
I would say the worst thing about franchising is not all franchises are treated equal. And there are some franchises out there I would steer you away from because of there are some companies that burn and churn their people. So they'll put them in, they have a very aggressive sales company, and they find lots of owners. And then if this guy doesn't work out, they just pull him out and put a new person in, and they just keep turning them like that.
And that's what I was afraid of when my client came to me about that. I thought, okay, the margins, like, I'm not even sure if you're going to be able to make a living at this, because she needed 6 figures, and there's nowhere to go if you don't, I just didn't seem like there was a whole, like, I felt like they were just putting her in a place and hoping it would fly, which is like in the financial world, that's what we do, right? They hire hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, and 5, 10, 15, 20% stick, and the rest, oh, well, we got their clients and their money from their friends and family, and then they're gone. Yeah.
See ya. Yeah.
So I don't like that.
Yeah. So that's why I only introduce people to brands that I vetted, that I know really care about their franchise owners, that I know they have good money behind them. That's the other thing, is that, unfortunately, there are people that will take an individual and say that he can turn him into a franchise. And all they do is they have a boilerplate document that they find and replace, put the guy's name in, give it to an attorney that reviews it and stamps it, and hello, you're now a franchise owner. No,
yeah, that's nothing. Yeah,
that's terrible. And that happens. But, it's kind of like any industry, right? We have the good, the bad, and the ugly.
absolutely. Every single industry, for sure.
Absolutely. So
that's why I'm glad I met you, because I love the idea of franchise, and I love the idea. If you live in the United States of America, y'all, you got to own a business. That's just the way the taxes are going. And I hate to tell you, but we are in the lowest tax bracket that we've been in a long time. Taxes will be going up. That's my crystal ball says that taxes will absolutely be going up. And we want you to keep more of what you actually bring in. So owning a business gives you tax deductions that are totally surpassed just being an individual head of household or married couple filing jointly or anything. So you got to own a business. Go find something that you love and start selling it. And in the meantime, save up some money. Maybe even, I have I love my clients so much. They both took out of their 401ks, both of them, and bought a business.
I hope they did it properly.
They did. And then they sold it for multi-millions 15 years later.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So we do. I have finance people that I work with, and their sole business is doing 401k rollovers. But it's very important that it's done properly. Because for your audience knows, you can take, so a lot of people have a lot of money in their 401k. A lot of the tech people that are getting laid off, they've either got a lot of stock or they've got a lot of money in their 401k. What they don't understand is they can take part, if they've left Google, for instance, they can take part of that 401k money, they can roll it into a C Corp. That becomes cash. They can pay cash for their business, and then they pay themselves back over time. So keeps their startup costs low, and it's a great way to defer instead of the thing going down if the stock market crashes. It's a way for them to mitigate some of that.
That's great. And so you're their first stop shop, right? Like somebody, if they even have an idea, because I'm really big on creating and attracting what you're supposed to attract. So if anybody's listening to you right now, there's a reason. Like I say that every time, I'm supposed to meet you. Like if I met you, I was supposed to meet you.
Yep.
And so same thing with you. If you're listening to Phyllis right now, you are supposed to be listening to her. So can they have like a conversation with you to find out if they might be a good fit to start?
Oh, of course.
Okay. Yes. And then maybe getting their wheels turning on maybe, what's possible. And then like we did our vision board. So maybe they can put in their vision board kind of what they're looking for before they actually take that jump. And then others might know exactly what they're really good at. And then you could help place them with a good brand.
Yes. And here's what I'll tell you. 90% of people come to me with this idea and they leave with this idea.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah.
Right. And the reason for that is, first of all, they don't know what they don't know. I'm able to uncover things about them that they really enjoy doing that they hadn't thought about. And so I'm able to place them into businesses. It's more, Jennifer, it's more about the characteristics of the business than it is about the widget. It's really not about the widget. It's really about, how do you want to spend your day? Do you want to be out and about in your community? Do you see yourself in a retail location? I've got a client that I met with last week, and I'm waiting for her to get her paperwork in. But, we talked about the service industry is very popular right now. And because everybody's fixing up their houses and, real estate and all of that. But she said to me, no, Phyllis, I don't want to be driving around. She doesn't see herself driving to people. She doesn't mind going to the person's home to give them an estimate or something, but she doesn't see herself driving around town. So I will find her something where people will come to her.
I love that.
That's more expensive because it's a location, and it'll take longer because it just takes a while to get things rolling when it comes to a retail location,
a retail spot. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you help them bring in business when they very first start? Like, how can you help with that?
Well, first of all, that's a franchisor's job. And here's the thing to realize with a franchise. Not only does the franchisor have a proven system, but they also have a proven system on how to find the customer. So they know exactly who the customer is. Give you an example. Something like residential cleaning. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't clean my house. I'm sure you don't clean yours. So
Mama don't like to do that.
So we have people that come to our homes and clean them, right? So in a franchise, in that business model, which is just killing it, not only do they have a protected territory, and that protected territory is made up of qualified households. What I mean by that is that it will be a couple that have a certain income, that live in a certain home that's a certain value, and they'll probably have a couple children. That's their target market. Both are working, both they have limited time. So having their house cleaned is a high priority for them. So they're not going to waste their money advertising to people that are not their customer. So they do a really good job of getting the phone to ring. Then the owner's role is to go out, meet with the customer, survey the house, give an estimate, and then they manage the teams that go in and do the work.
I love that. I love that. I actually just got a flyer on our mailboxes the other day, and it was, I can't remember the name, but it was really cute. And I was like, oh, okay. So I called them. They came. Like, you literally, everything's on the app. Like it was so very easy. It was a little expensive, but it was very, very convenient. So I can see how that could be, because things are changing. You know, things are just, we want it on our phone. We want it quickly. We want it easily. Yeah, that's amazing. Awesome. So you must know a lot about a lot of different industries.
I do.
You've been doing this for a long time. You mentioned several different industries already, which I love all of that. That's great. So if we were to, so like I have my clients start, I know it sounds lame, but when they start talking to me about money, I want them to write 100 things down that they love. And then another list of all their skills and attributes.
Oh, good.
And so that gets them already, I already know when they say, I only love like 10 things. Well, then I already know that that's where a lot of their stuff is coming from, is the negative and the self-sabotaging beliefs, right? So when they're coming from love, you can't come from love and fear at the same time. So I get them in the love space so that I can dig deeper and find out what beliefs we do need to clear. So for you, I love that, because you're matching them with their, and I say the same thing. It's not about the zeros. Rock My Finances. It's not about the zeros. It's about your lifestyle.
That's right.
What type of lifestyle do you want to live? And can we enjoy the journey on the way? Because we're never going to get everything all at once. So we need to find that financial freedom mindset now while we're on that journey. So I love that you're matching them with the lifestyle that they like.
Oh, it's so important. Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that.
You know, the other thing that's very popular these days is sometimes I'll have executives that want to keep their job because they actually really love what they do and they're making really good money, but they want to have an exit plan. So we will find a business model that is designed to be semi-absentee, so that they oversee it through the computer pretty much, but they have a general manager, and then the general manager takes care of the hiring and the firing and all of that. So that way, and those are usually in hair care, massage, so they're a retail location that has, you know, like one general manager could go around all 3 or 5 locations, that type of thing. So that's also a really popular way of building wealth on the side, and it's a way for them to diversify their portfolio.
And I would imagine they might already know a general manager. Like they might already be friends with them, or another colleague or something that they've done business with and they trust. Like I have several people that I would set up in business right now if I could. Like absolutely.
The other thing we haven't touched on, which I think is really important in today's world, is that franchising is also another way that a parent can help a child get into a business and defer some of his inheritance, give it to him early. But
they have help and support, so that you don't have to get it from the parent.
They're not, exactly. Well, think about wives too. Wives that become empty nesters. Now all of a sudden they're going, okay, now I want to do my thing. Well, imagine how much better it is if they decide to do a franchise. So instead of the husband coming home at night and she's saying, honey, can you help me with X, Y, and Z? She doesn't have to bother him with it. That way, he can come home, they can have a wonderful evening, and she can enjoy the autonomy of having her own business and not having to trouble her husband with issues with it, because that's that's what the franchise is there for, is to support her and all those things.
I love that. So we are going to go to a quick commercial, and then we're going to come back, and a couple questions that I have. How long do people keep the franchises? And what, if we're thinking about this right now, what's one thing that we could do to get ready to have that call with you? So when we come back, I'm going to have you answer those amazing 2 questions and much, much more. Thank you so much, Phyllis. Come right back.
Wait, the show isn't over yet. There's more fun and finances ahead. Jennifer will be right back as we have a special bonus offer for you right here on Rock My Finances, broadcasting live on K4HD Radio and Talk 4 TV.
Hey y'all, it's Jennifer Jost. Are you ready to transform your relationship with money? Rock My Finances Club is your weekly mastermind for wealth empowerment. Join me live for your personal weekly group video sessions and access your personal portal with the video library at any time, including your success system and way more bonuses. Go to rockmf.com for your financial empowerment. Make yourself a priority today. Schedule a chat with me at rockmf.com and achieve your feminine financial freedom finally. Oh, and don't forget to ask me how to save 50%. See you at our weekly mastermind.
Okay, Rock My Finances on K4HD and Talk 4 TV is back. Once again, let's put the fun in finance with your host and weekly friend, Jennifer Jost.
Okay, we are back. I love my little Rock My Finances group. It's so amazing because people are just starting out, and then we have multimillionaires. Doesn't matter about the zeros. We're just trying to get everybody organized and creating wealth. And you are stepping right into that mission, Miss Phyllis. Thank you so much. Okay, so what's an average length of someone staying in a franchise?
So when people get into a franchise, they sign what's called a franchise agreement, and that agreement is typically 5 to 10 years. I used to sell Sir Speedy franchises, and our agreements were 20 years.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
What happens if they're not successful?
Well, if they don't like, here's the thing I always say to people. Look, if you get into the business, look at the comparison here. If you get into business and you find after a couple of years you hate it, you can sell the business. The franchisor wants to help you sell the business because they don't want to have a business that failed on their books, right? So they will help you find an owner. So it's not like you're going to take the money and throw it down a rat hole.
Like you would, like we all do as just being solopreneurs.
Exactly.
There's no backup. There's no phone. There's no one helping
There's
me.
nothing to sell them. Right.
No.
But you've bought a franchise with a brand and a name and, all of that. So you do have a saleable asset. But most people, it depends. So here's the other thing that people don't realize. At the end of the 5 years, the franchisor has to make a decision. Do I want to keep you in the system or do I want you to leave? Now, if franchising is very regulated by the federal government, and I believe it's there for really good reasons, the way I like to, because I'm very visual, the way I like to describe it is they've put kind of a wall around saying, okay, these are the parameters that your business can run. Now, the reason I like that is that if you're in a territory, and let's say there's 5 franchises in the area, and you've got a bad apple in the territory next to you, well, you sure as heck want them to do something about this guy because he's hurting your brand because he's not, maybe his place is dirty or he's rude, who knows? Right. But the point is, the franchisor needs to have some sort of a mechanism that if you've got a bad apple, they've got to have a way to get rid of him.
For sure.
That's just the business, right?
Yep.
So that's why I think those parameters are put in for a good reason. So at the end of 5 or 10 years, the franchisor makes a decision. Is this a good person in our network or is it time for this guy to? Because if somebody is in the business and they're not really working very hard and they're in a gold mine territory, and the franchisor knows that they should be doing 3 times the volume, it behooves them to want to get him to move on and somebody else take it over.
And I'm sure they've had many talks up into that 5-year or 10-year deadline as well.
You know, Jennifer, you've been dealing with money for a long time, and haven't you found that, and I know we find it in the franchise world, somebody will get into the business, you think they're going to be fabulous. They don't follow the system. They keep bucking it here, bucking it there, complaining it's not working. Finally, they're almost bankrupt, and the franchise coach will go in and say, look, will you just please try it our way? And they try it their way, and they take off like a rocket.
Absolutely.
It's so weird what motivates people. Sometimes the almost losing everything gets them to kick it into gear.
Well, and that's where I come in with the mindset, because really, if we have the mindset from the get-go, we're going to be successful. Mm-hmm. And once we get through and find all of our limiting beliefs and realize that it's not about any of that. Mm-hmm. It's literally all about your mindset. If you can take your ego and sit it over here and say, okay, I'm going to follow this system.
Yep.
I call it becoming coachable. If you are coachable, then I can help you do a whole lot. But if you're not coachable, I can't help you. Now, can I help you be coachable? Yes. And that's a different program. And if you're willing, right? But then you have to follow that system. And then what I love about it is you can find what we can even do better. And that's when you collaborate with your franchisor and say, okay, if we did this, it could do this. And that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants to make their customers happy, to make more money, to save less in taxes, to live a great lifestyle. And so when you're all collaborating together, that's the best.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I collaborate with Juliet. She's on my podcast once in a while as well, because I don't want to be by myself. Like I like to talk to people. I like to collaborate just on, whatever we're talking about.
Sure. So absolutely.
It makes a big difference. So that's why I like the idea of the franchise as well, because you have support. So now let's say that guy was in that gold mine town, not working hard enough. Is there specific steps that, like you said, proven process, right? So they have specific steps for them to go to create business.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I would imagine each franchise has that because they've been successful. So if you follow that plan.
Well, they've spent a lot of money and made a lot of mistakes that you don't have to make. That's the difference between doing your own thing. You get to make all those mistakes and spend all that money, or get a proven system that has you up and going in 90 days, as opposed to trying to figure it out for 3 years.
I love that. So now let me ask you, what is I guess you said each person's different, but a proven system, is there a specific, like, can they be barely successful, or do they have to clear a certain amount of net worth in the business? Like, how do we know how successful that they can be?
So the other thing I really love about franchising is we have in our document, in the franchise agreement, there's something called the item 19. And the item 19 is a part of the document that will put in some of the data. Now, the good news is that a lot of franchisors and more are putting in that information. But what people need to understand is that from a legal standpoint, I cannot tell my clients how much money they can make.
Yeah, of course not.
Well, no, I'm not legally. I'm not allowed to. Yeah. I'm not allowed to talk at all about anything that has to do with money, except for what's in the FDD. But what I do is I teach them how to go out and talk to the franchise owners to figure it all out. So by the time they've talked to the franchise owners, a lot of times they can put together like a business plan. And what I teach them is to put down all the line items that would be coming out of your checkbook, your rent and your payroll and all those basic things. Then if one of the simple ways I do it is I say, okay, they'd be happy to tell you what kind of gross sales they do. Okay. Then ask them, how much money are they spending on advertising? 9 times out of 10, the guy that is successful is spending the right percentage on advertising. And the guy that's whining and complaining, guess what? He's not spending any money on advertising. And he's complaining that it's all the franchisor's fault that he's not successful.
And I would imagine that the franchisor knows where to advertise for that client, for that brand.
Of course. Yeah. Yes.
That's awesome. Okay, great. So now what do we need to have ready if we wanted to have just a basic phone call with you?
So what I like people to do is to sit down, if they're a couple, sit down together and say, okay, if we wanted to have our own business, they need to kind of look at their finances and get an idea of how much are they willing to invest cash wise and invest, as far as financing. So there's financing available. You don't have to pay cash for these businesses. But, like there's SBA, and a lot of times they'll use, they'll put a lien on their home, like a second trust deed on their home. That's a very quick way to get into a business, is to do a second. So, but they need to be clear on what their goals are, what kind of money they want to make, what kind of money are they willing to invest. Those are the key things, right? And the other thing is, I always share with clients, especially couples, it's really important that each of them are involved in the business and during the research phase. Here's why. You and I can be having this conversation, and then let's say you're married, and after our conversation, your husband comes home and you give him your interpretation of what you heard and what you think. But what he hears and what you hear are going to be very different. So what I explain mainly to my husbands is, it's really important for you to have your wife on the call. Chances are she's going to be more fearful than you are in most cases. And if she can hear my voice, and she can hear the caring that I have, and she knows that I really do have your vested interest at heart, and that I really want to find you the right match, she's going to be much happier and feel more secure about it. And the same thing is when she talks to the franchisor, even if she just wants to listen on the phone and she doesn't ask a question, but if she hears everything the guy says about the business, then she's hearing it firsthand, and that's going to take away a lot of the fear, because it's that fear of the unknown that is the one that really puts the hiccup and keeps people from realizing their dreams, because they're afraid of what they don't know.
And their old beliefs too. So you just said the gold right there. Everything that you said, I could say as well with my clients or prospective clients. Mm-hmm. It is absolutely so important to be able to talk to both people making a decision. Yes. And I have had my husbands drag their wives in because they want their wives to take care of if something happened to them. My favorite one is Rich and Cindy. Give them a shout out. Literally, Cindy came in like this, literally arms folded, didn't want to know anything. Like, I hate this stuff. It stresses me out. And then I don't remember her exact words because it was many years ago. And now her and I are the ones that have the conversations about what's happening. And he just sits back and says, oh man, can you believe, remember when we started all this? Like, it was him and I, because he ran, he's a very intelligent man, and she's intelligent as well. Now her and I are like down, we like get things done. It's so fun. I love it. So you're right. Awesome. We need everyone on the call, and ladies and gentlemen, no matter which side someone is interested in, we need you both in all decision-making conversations with all decision-making things in your life. I don't care if it's a car, a house, a franchise, a sofa, it doesn't matter. We both need to be involved so that one or the other can pick up the slack if ever needed. So that was great.
Absolutely.
Was great. That's good. Okay. So find out kind of what we like, money we have to invest, money that we want to make out of it. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine they need to have good credit scores in order to use your financing.
They do. And it's also, they have to understand that businesses, like any business, it's not like getting a job. You're not going to make money right away. So
that's what I was going to say too. Yeah.
So they have to have money socked away so that
reserves.
They have to have reserves. Exactly.
For like 6 months, a year, 2 years. I guess it depends on the franchise.
I would say 6 months to a year.
Okay, that's not bad. Yeah. I tell everybody a year in the financial services industry, because it does take a bit to grab your clientele.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, Phyllis, this has been so fun. I know you have something to get to because we have your podcast, y'all. So check out her Check
Yeah.
out her website. She's got lots of information there. You can chat with Phyllis. Thank you so much for coming on the show. You're amazing.
Jennifer, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this, and I hope people. Oh, let me just give a little shout out. This is my
your book.
It's the Itty Bitty Publishing book. I don't know. Is that backwards? Probably.
Nope, we got it.
Good. Considering a franchise book. So if they just type my name, Phyllis Pieri, in Amazon, it'll pop up.
Awesome.
It's
Considering
like
franchising. I think everyone should read it regardless because it's going to expand your knowledge, your wealth, and that's our word.
It's an itty bitty book, and it's
why not?
Paragraphs and bullet points, so it's easy.
I love it. Thank you so much, Phyllis. I hope we can all end this and say, I rock my finances. See you next week.
We appreciate you joining us today, and don't forget to subscribe to the Rock My Finances YouTube channel for more engagement and bonus content. Tell me, what is your money story? Let's find out with Jennifer, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, every Thursday right here on K4HD Radio and Talk4 TV. It's not about the zeros, it's about the F word, feelings. Feelings Jennifer can't wait to explore with you next week. Until then, let's all say, I rock my finances.